Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Mitchell, and I'm an instructional designer here in Academic Technology Services. So we're excited to show you a little bit of the ins and outs of Zoom and kind of get into a little bit of intermediate and advanced features of Zoom. So just to go over our agenda today, we'll have a short intro, and then we'll cover how to access Zoom through single sign-on. We'll go over the interface of Zoom, so how it looks when we're actually in a meeting as we are now. We'll go over the profile, so once you actually access Zoom through single sign-on, you can edit your profile if you'd like. And then we'll jump into a little bit more of the intermediate and advanced features and go through meeting settings. And then we'll have a little bit of a demo and go over the meeting interface. So as I'm sure you all know, Zoom features is essentially high definition video and high quality audio, which allows for desktop sharing. So essentially an example of what I'm doing now. So showing exactly what is on my screen, broadcasting that out to all of the attendees or students. This works great for presentations and also for synchronous dialogue with your students. It also provides remote conferencing services, right? So we don't have to be in a room all together. We can be at home, or we can be at remote locations and all be able to connect virtually. The great thing about Zoom too is you can always record any meetings that you have, and that allows for either cloud-based or local saving. So local meaning direct to your computer. So here's a little user interface of the single sign-on. So once you do sign on, you can see we have a Zoom chiclet dedicated to Zoom. And once you click that chiclet, you head right into the meetings tabs. You can see here on the left, we have profile, meeting settings, and meetings. So this is where you would start if you wanted to schedule a meeting. Now this can be either a one-time meeting, or you can choose to have what are called reoccurring meetings. We'll get into that in just a little bit. You can see up here in the top right, we have some quick links. So if you know the meeting ID, you can hit this join a meeting, and then it'll ask you for either a 9 or 10 digit meeting ID. That meeting ID is kind of the golden ticket here in Zoom. So that'll, as long as you have a meeting ID, that'll allow you to, or any of your students rather, to join a meeting really at any time that's been scheduled and started. Similar to that, you as the instructors, you have this host a meeting feature as well. So all instructors on campus have the professional version of Zoom, which allows much more robust features than what the students have. So students have what's called a basic account. And so that limits how many attendees and the time allotment for any meeting. So for instructors, we don't have to worry about that too much because we have, I believe it's a 300 participant limit and unlimited time as well. So along with that comes the recording features, which is unlimited amount up to, I believe, 1 gigabyte of storage in the cloud. And by that, I mean you can save up to 1 gigabyte of meeting video within the Zoom cloud. However, it's unlimited if you save it locally to your machine. So here in the middle of the screen, we have 3 tabs. Currently, we're in the personal meeting tab. So this refers to what's called a personal meeting ID, and that is assigned to every single faculty member. So you have your own essentially your own meeting ID, which you can edit to anything you'd like. So you can see here I have it edited to my office number. And I've gotten a question before from a faculty member who asked if a student logs into this meeting ID and I have it set to my office number, will my office number ring? I said no. So it's just an easy way for students and for you as instructors to remember what your personal meeting ID is. And this allows for quick access to starting and accessing meetings if you would like. There's also a previous meetings tab, which aggregates all of the previous meetings that you have, that you as instructors have hosted. And then upcoming meetings tabs, that's in regards to meetings that you have scheduled that are about to run in the future. And then lastly, here on the left, we have our main tab of links. So as I referred to earlier, we have our profile tab, which again, we'll get to in a bit, as well as meeting settings, recordings, and we don't really need to worry about webinars all that much. But really the top portion of this tab list is pretty important. So I'd like to go over just a little bit of a host workflow for you. So in terms of scheduling and then preparing, and then after the meeting, what we recommend you do. So in advance of a Zoom meeting, we recommend scheduling via the single sign-on or the Zoom app. So the Zoom app is an optional download that you can have on your local machine. And this allows for, again, quick access to either starting or joining a meeting. It's not required though, so you can access via the website. So either way works, whatever you're more comfortable with. And once you have scheduled that meeting, you'll need to copy the Zoom meeting URL, which we'll go over in just a little bit. So copy that URL and send it out to whoever the participants are. So in your case, send out, we recommend through the Beachboard class list. You can go ahead and send out that Zoom meeting invite to the entire class list. So that will enable the students to just simply click on the URL and Zoom will launch automatically, and they'll be entered into the room without having to download any interface or anything like that. So we recommend you do that, within ideally 24 hours before a meeting. But once that is done, we recommend at least 5 or 10 minutes before the meeting starts that you go ahead and log in as the host. You'll be able to start the meeting, and then at that point, we recommend anyone, whether it be a host or an attendee, to test your microphone, your speakers, and your video. So Zoom has made that pretty easy. So in the bottom left-hand corner of the toolbar, there's a big icon for both video and for your microphone or for audio. So once that's all set, we recommend that you have a presentation, whether it be in PowerPoint, or whether it be through a web page, have that open and ready. So then you'll be able to spend more time once the meeting begins to interacting with your students and have kind of a seamless transition into your presentation. And lastly, we recommend before the meeting actually starts that you go ahead and hit the record button if you would like to. So then that way that'll ensure that all the students' questions, because some students will have questions straight away, and it's great to have those documented through recording the meeting. And then after the meeting has completed, there's a little red link down in the bottom right-hand corner of a screen that is an end meeting for all. So you'll go ahead and get some feedback here. There we go. So you'll go ahead and end that meeting for everyone. And once that meeting is done, it'll automatically archive in the past presentations tab. So if we go back, I'll show you. So here in this previous meetings tab, it'll archive there. And then it'll also automatically post that recording. So it'll either post it to the cloud or it'll begin downloading to your machine automatically. As we begin the demo portion of our Zoom presentation here, I'd like to draw your attention to a couple different ways that you can access Zoom. The first is through your single sign-on. You can see there's a Zoom chiclet here that, when enabled, goes directly to the Meetings tab of your Zoom interface. The other way is if you go through single sign-on to your Beachboard, you can see within your Beachboard course, there is a Zoom link here in the navigation bar, and you can click that and it goes directly to the Meetings tab as well. So either way will get you into the same Zoom interface. Now this is helpful for when starting or hosting a meeting. However, students will not need to do that. They can just simply click on the URL that you provide through email to the students. So here in the Meetings tab, you can see we have any upcoming meetings that you have scheduled, any previous meetings, and here in the personal meeting room, this is where your personal meeting ID is housed. So this is a unique ID that every host or every instructor here at CSULB has. And this enables you to just share this unique ID with all the students in your course, if you would like to. So that's separate from any scheduled meetings that you have. So if you schedule a meeting here, you can see that you can provide a topic. Descriptions are optional. The date and time are the most important here. So you'll want to ensure that you give an accurate date and time for the start of the meeting. Duration is not as essential, because if it goes over an hour, you don't have to worry, it will not kick you out or end the meeting automatically. Registration is a great way to take roll for all the students who enter the meeting. That list of attendees or students will be provided to you after the meeting has completed. Host video is on, participant video is off for those who enter the meeting. So if you would like all to have them on when they enter the meeting, you can choose that. A waiting room enables students to essentially be in a pseudo waiting room before a meeting begins. So I know those punctual students enjoy this one, so I have it enabled. And I have record the meeting automatically enabled as well, so I don't have to worry about clicking the record button once the meeting begins. A couple options here. You can have it saved locally to your computer, which is unlimited based on your computer's capacity. In the cloud, there is a 1 gig limit per user. Any alternative hosts you can put in here. Those are great for if you ever need to have a TA or a student have hosting rights. So here in the Settings tab, you can see that we have general settings here to begin with. So I have my host video, or the instructor video, is on. I have the chat feature on as well. I know students enjoy this synchronous digital chatting.
You can have private chat on as well. I have it disabled because I prefer any students who have a question share it to the whole class rather than just to one student. File transfer is a great option to have enabled. This allows for any PowerPoints or PDFs, any content item really, to be shared via the chat during the meeting. Polling, which we went over before, is a great thing to have enabled. And screen sharing, you'll certainly want to have enabled for the host to share your screen during your meetings if you'd like to share any PowerPoints or any lectures. I like to have all participants enabled just in case a student is presenting and needs to share their screen. It's always great to have. Just know you, as the host, you have the right or the ability to always restrict or take back screen sharing just in case anything happens. The annotation feature is great. That essentially enables inking or a pen feature. And the whiteboard is great to have as well. So that helps for just kind of a blank canvas to use your annotations on. So here in the advanced settings, we have breakout rooms. You want to make sure that's enabled if you want to have any small group discussions. It's kind of what we went over before. I have my virtual background enabled. It's kind of have some fun with that. As I mentioned before, the waiting room, you want to have that enabled if you'd like to have a place for students to ensure that the meeting is going to happen, but it's just not started yet. And I have basically all the notifications for email enabled as well. And now we'll go over some more specifics of the meeting ID for Zoom, as well as audio and video settings.
The Zoom meeting is kind of the golden ticket here. So as long as a student has this URL, then they're good to go to enter the meeting. However, if for some reason they don't have the URL or they claim they didn't get it, they can always enter a Zoom meeting through going to zoom.us and then hitting that join a meeting tab and then just simply entering the meeting ID here. So either way works. So as you've seen here through our Zoom meeting, our interface is relatively simple. So all of the functions are down here in the toolbar. You can see pay special attention over here to the B and C options. So this is your audio and video functions. And let me jump to the next slide here, and then I'll kind of give you a little bit of a detail on what you see when you enter those. For the audio options, that involves both your speaker and your microphone options. So you want to make sure that both your microphone is selected to the appropriate option, as well as your speakers. And if you'd like to use your video, you can ensure that your camera is selected to the correct one. Because sometimes there will only be one setting, and that's great if you're on a laptop. But say if you're on a desktop, there might be multiple options. So that's good to go back to that workflow that we spoke about, and that 10 minutes before the meeting starts is the ideal time where you want to make sure that you have these settings correct. Some other features to point out are, like I mentioned earlier, the end meeting is down here in the lower right-hand corner. And in the middle here is kind of where we have the bread and butter of the toolbar. So from going from left to right, we have the manage participants. Now that allows for you as the host to see everyone that's in the meeting, and then also to either start or disable their video and audio. So that's a great kind of central place to make sure that everyone is good to go. The polling feature, like Afifa mentioned, I'll go over in just a little bit here. This is really great for additional discussion, maybe for those introverts in your course that may not want to speak up during a Zoom session. You can either have pre-made polls, essentially surveys that you deliver at certain times throughout your presentation in Zoom, or you can have kind of on-the-fly polling as well. So essentially you can either have pre-made, or you can say, 10 minutes into a video, a question pops into your head and you say, okay, students, I'd like to see your reactions on this question. Let's do a quick poll. So either way works. There we go. Share screen is a super popular function, so that allows for you as the host to share whatever, essentially broadcast whatever is on your screen to all of the attendees. And then also, as Afifa mentioned, if you have the attendee screen share option selected in the settings, then your students would have the ability to share their screen and broadcast what they see to the class as well. So this is great for, say, a presentation, either an individual or a group presentation on Zoom. It's great for the students to be able to share their projects or what they have prepared to the class as well. So you don't need to ask them to email it to you beforehand or anything like that. It makes it a lot easier, just to a lot more seamless for them to present. The chat feature is a great way, again, for the students who may not want to speak up as much. They can always kind of digitally involve themselves through the chat. And so as an instructor, as a host, we recommend that you kind of look at the chat every 2 to 3 minutes as a courtesy for the students. Just if they have any questions, or if they have like their little digital hand raised, that'll appear in the chat in the managed participants area. And so you can always address questions in the chat verbally during your presentation, or you can type right back into the chat as well. The record function we went over a little bit ago. So there's a setting, as Afifa mentioned, to start the record right away as the meeting starts. And if that isn't checked, then you still have the option to record it later. It just depends on your preference there. So either way, you do have the option to record the meeting. And last is breakout rooms. So breakout rooms really are super helpful for small group discussion. We'll go over how the interface looks in just a little bit here, but just to give an overview, the breakout rooms allow for you as the host to have the participants in smaller, I guess you could call it like sub meetings. So if there's 8 students and you'd like to have 4 groups, you can either have them automatically enrolled in groups, or you can put them manually in groups. So say if you want Susie and Johnny in one group and Larry and Sue in another group, that's certainly possible. So here in the managed participants area, you can see that we do have the ability to see who's the host and who are participants. And the one thing I want to draw attention to here is the more option, which allows for the ability for a host, so you as the instructor, to upgrade an attendee to either a presenter or a co-host. So that gives them the ability to have additional features of being able to, say, end a meeting, or be able to, if you have a little bit more restrictions on the share screen, that would allow them to share their screen. So here's how the polling feature looks if you're building it beforehand. So you would hit add a question here on the left, and then on the right, you can add in either a single choice or a multiple choice and have those features shown from the students' end. It seems like something they really enjoy. Once you hit that green share screen button, you can see that there are some options that you can choose from. You have either the desktop option, which I'm using, or you have a whiteboard option, which is just kind of a blank canvas that you can annotate on. So again, like FIFA said, this would be great for your natural science and math classes. The group chat feature is really helpful. The one thing I wanted to point your attention to is the ability for students to, down here at the bottom, you can see either chat to everyone or chat personally, one-to-one. Some instructors like this, while other instructors have the private chat, the chat one-to-one disabled. And that kind of helps to limit any questions that aren't posed to the entire group. Because as we know, if one student has a question, a couple others probably have that same one. So it's great to have all questions posed to the entire group. But again, it's up to you whether you'd like to have that feature on or disabled. And next we have breakout rooms. So once you hit the breakout room tab, you can see that this little dialog box pops up and it automatically has the total amount of participants here on the left, and then it'll ask you how many like little subrooms that you would like to create. So say if we had 20 students and we'd like to have 5 rooms, that would have through automatically it would be 4 students per room. Or you can always move and exchange students to where if you'd like to have more students in one group than another, that would be possible. Or to exchange students. So if you'd like to exchange John for Brandon, that's totally possible as well. So again, a very popular option. So as we wrap up here, little parting notes. So again, students have limited Zoom functionality. So again, they have limits in terms of total time of a meeting, and then also the amount of people per meeting, which I believe is capped at 40. And the Zoom limit for students who are, again, for students who are hosting a meeting. For anyone who's participating, that's no problem. But if, say, for example, you want the students to meet on their own and create their own Zoom meeting, just know that they do have that 45-minute limit per meeting. Our workflow for students posting either Zoom sessions or really any type of video file would be through a third-party video hosting site such as YouTube, and then to post that onto Beachboard, post the link to Beachboard. Zoom is wonderful for synchronous sessions, but if for any video, any recorded options, we would recommend either using Camtasia or Kaltura for you as instructors, and then using Beach Media to host all of the videos so that the automatic closed captioning and transcripts are available.
So this concludes our Zoom training. If any questions come up, feel free to submit a help desk ticket through the help desk.